Hey guys,
Hello.
thank you for joining us.
How you guys going?
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on. So today we have joining us on the show, we've got Dale. He's all the way over in Victoria. We've got David from Perth, Western Australia, and ourselves from South Australia. So we're covering quite a lot of the country, aren't we? Well,
Except the
north, where we're covering a lot of Australia. So good to have some people representing. Thank you very much for joining us today, guys. Appreciate that. Especially on Easter weekend as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys?
The truth never sleeps. The truth never
No,
sleeps.
that's right.
That's right. I mean, I feel like we've been kind of working all weekend on this. Did you guys have a good break?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I didn't do a whole lot. Just did a bit of music.
Yeah.
All weekend, yeah.
Cool. So guys, I guess we're just getting together today to sort of talk about a couple of the things that are going on at the moment. I guess nothing really major happened over the Easter break. I don't know how everyone felt about that. You know, there was some dates that were, speculative dates that were put out there. I think, was it the 1st and 2nd of April was put there? Yeah. I mean, there's so many dates going around. It's hard to keep up with everything. And we try not to really focus on dates. And I think we've kind of, spoken about this with you guys, separately before. Did you guys kind of expect anything to happen, or is this kind of exactly what you thought would pan out this weekend? So are you, Dale?
I think I mentioned I was sort of saying for a long time, I felt like Easter was people. I haven't seen that since last year, but as far as expecting anything, not real. What I was expecting, like being here in Victoria, was they've locked us down every school holidays.
Yeah.
They've done some form of a lockdown every holidays, and so I was certain they were going to do that, especially after seeing the stories in Brisbane, because last time they did that in Brisbane, they followed up doing it here about a week later.
Yeah.
Sorry if my voice is a bit crap, by the way.
You're right.
Yeah, so I thought that was going to happen, but it's only really the beginning of the holiday, so I was sort of baiting for another lockdown. I sort of wanted it just to see public reaction to this one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we still got 2 weeks, but
we'll see.
As far as picking a date, I think like those, I don't think you should even go there anymore. Just like
exactly. I don't think we expected anything to happen over the weekend, but I guess there's that little bit of hope inside that something will actually happen. Just something will come out there, but there are obviously lots of little bits coming out. What about you, David? Were you anticipating anything, or did you notice anything coming out?
The only thing I was anticipating was possibly something 107 was talking about, how Trump may be back in power. But because we've been I guess let down so many times, if you follow those dates, then I wasn't really expecting anything in that respect, and I wasn't surprised nothing happened. But in the lead up, we obviously had the canal being blocked, so that was very interesting. And from what I hear, that the ship's moved on now, but authorities were inspecting it and stuff, and I've heard a bunch of different stuff about what they found on there, and also that some medical ships were also sent there to take care of some people that were on that boat. I don't know if you guys heard something similar.
Yes, we did. Yeah, that was a really big story. I was following that one all of last week, and as soon as that came out, I thought, this is really sus. There's no way the wind could push a ship wedge it into
200,000 tons.
That's right. Like it's not in the laws of physics. That's not even possible. So you just have to look at that. That was a really, really odd story. I don't know if that actually has floated off down the canal. I think it's actually just been, pushed off somewhere else, and they're actually investigating it now. That's the information that we've kind of gotten through. And the things that we did hear that were found on there was not good. Not good. It's pretty bad. And actually, if you stop to think about that stuff too much, it's too much to even think about. Like, you just people on there.
It's the worst. It's the worst of the whole thing.
Just the worst. Just the absolute worst.
Yeah.
It's just the kind of thing that you just need it to come out in the mainstream media. People need to hear about this. They need to know about it. They would treat their lives so differently if they knew about these things. Well, I hope that people would. I think there was also comments, whether this is all true or not, but there was also comments of like weapons of mass destruction on there. So who knows? it must have been hideous. Like it's a crazy
But maybe
story.
that was one of the big sort of things to come out that was, you know, in the lead up to Easter, everyone was kind of expecting something. I think that was like a really massive thing that's happened. So, and I do feel like there's, you know, probably seeds that have been planted over this, you know, last 4 days that, you know, you can't see at this point. But the energy is very thick right now. I don't know if you guys are feeling it. Certainly, this is a very different Easter to what we've felt previously, probably any other year. Very heavy energy, and I feel definitely attacks coming from everywhere energetically. So it's a very thick sort of time to work through. But in saying that, I think the heavier it gets, it can only get to a certain point, and then something has to give at some point, I would say soon. And also Mr. T, he's been coming out with more statements. He hasn't been particularly quiet of the last, I guess, several weeks. He's been more vocal, so I think that's good signs as well.
I think
so
since
maybe
that
not
CPAC convention that he spoke at, I think whether that was him or not, that may have been a double. But I think since then, I feel like he's really ramped up, you know, his presence.
But also, I think if you're looking at astrology, just segueing a little bit, it's a really important time at the moment for planting seeds and a lot of newness and a lot of healing of the heart and all these kinds of things. So I definitely think April in general is going to be a big month regardless. And also we've seen some flipping of people in MSM. Now, there was a couple of people. Did anyone see any of that?
US.
Like people are starting to come out.
I see the guy on Fox. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, yeah. So
they're playing with you so much of that stuff. Like that was crazy to me.
Yeah.
Is the one that's talking about how Jim Carrey's playing Biden? Is that the one?
Yeah.
So
is that for real?
Yeah,
like, was that just like a metaphor for, you know?
He wasn't saying it literally. He was making a metaphor to the movie, but that's actually a form of Masonic coding. They call it doublespeak and stuff. Where they are, it's called masterfully speaking. That's what it's called.
Okay,
yeah. I learned one through like George, Paul McCartney does this, but a lot of Masonic do. So they say stuff in metaphor, but they mean literal.
Okay.
It's like hidden in plain sight kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, have you ever seen the Paul McCartney one? And he says, "Oh, you him," like the fake one. He goes, "Yeah, I am." They do it as a sarcasm.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you the real one or the fake one. Oh, okay, right.
There's a big height difference between those two. I checked it up in the original one.
Don't want to go down that path.
Like 3. Yeah, we won't go down there, but it's 3 inches. It's like
I tried to look at. My mom actually has, or we actually bought.
When they're very different.
We bought her a calendar of the Beatles because we lived near Abbey Road, and I've actually studied all the pictures, and they're trying to work out which one's which from the different years. So that's another whole rabbit hole. We could go down another day for sure. But I don't know. We weren't being dumb or anything. We were just like, maybe. I mean, as crazy as everything actually is, maybe it could have been Jim Carrey, like just as a joke, you know, like just really, really putting it out there and going in your face kind of thing. But I don't know.
They say it's James Woods.
Sorry, did you say James Woods?
That's what a lot of people are saying. But what I don't get is James Woods is pretty old as well. You know, he's not young, and so for that, you know, when he fell up the stairs, for him to get up that quickly, it would have to be a young guy. It couldn't be James Woods. He's too old.
I couldn't get up that quickly. I ran every day. I couldn't get up that quickly.
Yeah, but it's definitely not him. Clearly.
No.
I'm sorry. Like when I saw that fall up, that was computer generated to me. I don't know if that's how I saw it.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It had that comical kind of element about it. The way that you would, if you were editing, you know, a movie or a you know commercial or something, that's how you would do it. So I agree with you, Dale. Like, yeah.
And the memes were out within minutes. It was like the memes were like pre-made. Do you know what I mean? That's what. That's what I like to
it's all planned. It has to be. Like everything is done on point, and so they have this stuff ready, right?
I think with the Suez Canal stuff too, because I think there's a lot of like I was trying to think what's like the symbolism of that, and that's obviously like the birth canal, right? And then you're talking about like planting seeds and like new birth and stuff, and we're in like what's Easter? Easter's like the egg, the new birth into that time, and then you had Evergreen,
Yeah.
So that's like eternal life. That's what that's about. But then it's obviously like the Clinton code name as well.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff like that. If you're looking into the word, I just thought when I heard that and like it was like they blocked the birth canal, right? They blocked the birthing or attempting to block the birth, and like depending on who did it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's just something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And they had the truck the next day as well, which was also evergreen. So I mean, that was it was pretty obvious at that point because the truck's in the same fashion, blocking it in the exact same way. Yeah. It's a bit easier with the truck to kind of just maneuver it, I suppose, into place. But it looked pretty sus to me.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the ship sort of took, the bigger sort of story. But there was a lot of, coincidences there. But then there's been other things as well that have sort of happened, that have come out in the media. But just, they're obviously not making a big deal about it. They're putting it, brushing, bits and pieces under the carpet as you would expect. But did you guys see that story with the Nine Network last week? There was that cyber attack last Sunday morning, I think it was. Yeah,
I heard about it. I haven't seen anything else though.
I don't watch the Nine. I don't really watch Nine much anymore, actually. Since I went.
So they didn't even have the morning show, did they? Like the whole morning show was cancelled.
Yeah, so I think it would have been through because it was 9 Sydney. So I think it would have been through Today's Show, Weekend Today.
Oh, okay.
Any of their sports programs that follow in the lineup after that. So that was in 9 Sydney. So I think they had to actually push all of their news kind of coverage through Melbourne. I think this is how it went. This is how it was reported. This is a mainstream story, so I don't know how much is true. They had to push that to Melbourne, and then they had to send, some guys that were doing, coverage on NRL, that sort of thing. They had to send them off in a car. They had to drive up to Newcastle, and it was just they had to do everything kind of manually, and that's the kind of take that I got on it. But they called it a cyber attack. So that was interesting, and I picked that up last week and actually mentioned it in another video that we did last week on air, but nothing else came of that. So, but I definitely think there's a lot more
behind it
under
all.
the surface.
You guys know Peter Hitchener as well, the newsreader.
Is he the one from Sydney?
No, he's in Melbourne.
Okay.
So this was Channel 9 as well, because I don't watch him. My mum rang up. She's like, "Oh, Peter Hitchener was like," he started slurring his words, whatever. And then it went to the break, and they've like, "Oh, Peter's now left. He's gone home. He's sick."
Oh.
And they brought in another, just weird shit like that,
Wow.
Very strange, isn't it?
Was that at the same time?
Too many things happening.
Yeah, it was I think it was the day after. It was the day after.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Is he the
Something's
main?
Definitely going on.
Is he the main newsreader, their main news bulletin?
Yeah, he's like mid-late 70s. He's been on there for decades. Yeah.
He does the 6 p.m. news. Yeah. Okay.
But what do you guys think about these people keeping their jobs? If they know a certain thing and they've just been going along with what they've been fed, do you think that they will just flip and then they'll be able to keep their job, or do you think they'll actually get rid of them? What's fair here?
Yeah.
I think
somebody's writing the script. They're the script readers. They may not be completely switched on to what's going on.
I find it so hard to believe, though.
I do too. But
anyone at the top of that game knows exactly what's going on. Just my assumption, but
I mean, I've worked very closely with newsreaders, and I know what time. I can't speak for all of them, but I do know what time they arrive during the day, and it's not early in the day. They come in reasonably late. I've probably done 2/3, 3/4 of my day, and they come in, they do their makeup, they read their lines, that's it. Then they go on. So I don't think there's a lot of I can't speak for all of them. Some of them are probably a lot more hands-on, but I think there's a lot of the ones that you see on air that just come in literally, it's all about this, come in, read the lines, and probably don't question anything. But again, I'm just saying that's not all of them. But
I think they've controlled I think the morning show become key in the last sort of 20 years. And these are the guys because you got journalists and you got newsreaders and then you got people like your morning show presenters where they've got to be a bit sort of cluey onto this. They got to know what you can, what you can't do, when to cut the person off. And if you see them in the media, you see when they do it, and they're quite skilled at it. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I've watched Carl for years of talking about the jab that's around now, how they've because they always had to bring it up to knock it down. So they'll bring in certain people, but they're quite skilled at what they're doing. So people in those positions, they fully know what they're doing, I reckon.
Yeah.
Well, they're schooled.
Yeah.
People like Piers Morgan.
Just reading it. Your Piers Morgan. That's a classic example.
Yeah. They bring him in just to kind of get them to talk about it, and then they just shut them down. Like,
what's the go with Piers
finish
Morgan?
their sentence.
He's gone now. He's gone.
Sorry?
Piers Morgan's gone.
You said he was gone. Yeah.
He's been on and off. He's been on and off for a while.
Oh, but he left over the Meghan Markle thing, didn't he?
Said that now.
Yeah. That's right. You did.
Yeah.
But you know, like Piers Morgan, he was like, because he was involved in the news of the world, like spying scandal and all that sort of stuff. He had to nick off over to America. When that was, do you remember that? It was about 10 years ago, where they were spying on all the celebrities. Do you remember they were tapping all their phones and stuff, and then at the same time they couldn't find out what Savile and stuff were doing. But they were tapping it.
Oh, okay.
And there's actually another lady, Christine Hart. She used to work News of the World as well, and she was working as a journalist and a spy, and they were using her for to sex trap certain people into stories, and then they'll wiretap. It's unbelievable. So because there's a lot of spies in journalism as well. Like I used to. Have you heard of Free Radio Europe? You probably haven't.
No.
They're like they've got these CIA front sort of agents. They were set up in the communist era to distribute, propaganda into the communist bloc, but they still operate now, and a lot of them are CIA assets. And this is why, when you hear like in Russia, like, oh, some journalist just got jailed for 20 years. It's like, it wasn't a journalist. It was it was a spy.
Yeah.
That's what they were.
Yeah.
A lot of the US journalists are like that.
Yeah, anytime you hear those journalists jailed, it's usually because they're operating as a spy, but it obviously doesn't come out,
Yeah, it will be interesting to see the treatment of these people, the on-air people, the ones facing the camera, and just everyone involved, news directors. There's a lot of people that are involved in bringing a news bulletin together, or a current affairs program together. So it will be interesting to see what sort of accountability will have to be there once all of this is out. So whenever
I've got a question for you though, Carly. Then, so like, what level of complicity is acceptable? Like, say if you've worked in the media, at what level is complicity, and like at what level do you have any sort of control over what happens that ends up going on screen?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I didn't work in journalism myself. I worked more in like advertising and promotion. So, but I did have to work closely with some of the talent. So, I did get to know them. And a lot of them are just they're lovely people. Like some of them are just so nice. But then there are others that you sort of have your doubts about and your thoughts on. So, but that's and I'm sure anyone would share that same experience as me. It's hard to say, and I don't know. I wasn't a journalist as such, so I don't know what sort of things what sort of contract you have to sign off of, whether you just kind of, you feel your way through it. And if you're, that way inclined and you want to get a little bit further in your career, maybe you take the more of the dark road. And maybe, I'm sure there's a lot of really credible journalists, amongst, in the mix. So we're not speaking on behalf of all of the people, but obviously there are a lot of people that went to the dark side. It's just, I don't know. I think it's a good point, Julia. I mean, what sort of accountability will there be, for people that are delivering it to us and producing all of that? But as I said, there's a lot of people that go into all of that, right down to the, the cameraman and that
but
sort of thing.
But not a lot of journalists like that on mainstream will have any like stepped up and said anything or come out and spoke.
There was a German journalist, whistleblower, who came out several years ago, and he spoke about how he was getting his articles written by the CIA, and that he basically, and that it was all controlled up through to the editor. So there's been some, but not many. There was another CNN lady that wouldn't report in Bahrain about like the slaughters and stuff like that, because it was conducive
to that one.
The US agenda at the time, that they didn't want to report anything bad about Bahrain, and she became a whistleblower. So that there's been some.
There's some, but there's
We
very
need more,
few,
though.
really, isn't there? Yeah, I mean, of the professional people that do this for a living, there hasn't really been a lot. But I mean, we don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, whether there are several people stepping down because they can't speak the truth, and they have, they work with integrity, and I'm assuming there'd be some people like that, but I don't know. There's no other way that they seem to be coming out unless they're doing it in a different way, through social media or the low level media, as you call it.
You would think that if there ever was a time, it'd be now. You know what I mean? Because a lot of.
I don't know. Maybe they feel like
if it hasn't happened yet, then I don't know if it will.
We're well
because
into it.
nobody that reads a story in the mainstream media, or even reads one from the mainstream media, can categorically say that any of this makes sense.
Yeah.
And you got to realize that these journalists, they've got the same access to information that people like us do. Like they've seen stuff. They know. Like, even if they don't believe it, they know all the rumors.
Yeah.
They can't act like that.
Maybe just like a case of turning a blind eye and just,
Quit the job.
Yeah, exactly. As they're probably trained to do, which is bad and sad.
Which is why I didn't become a journalist. So for those reasons. So very glad I didn't take that road in life. But in talking about obviously journos and that sort of thing in the media, also music people. We haven't seen many people in the music industry, or movie industry, or any celebrities.
None really.
There's been few and far between that have come out and said anything, and the ones that have, it's been pretty hard to find.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Novak Djokovic at the start of the year, he was piping up early, and I used to follow him on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't, and he's super into his meditation.
Yeah.
All health practices, everything. He's definitely, he knows what's going on, and I've seen some of the people he gets on. They know the agenda.
And Ronaldo as well, I think.
Yeah, he said he wasn't going to get the jab. And then it was about a month later, they said that he got it and he was spreading it. Do you remember that?
I didn't know about the jab bit.
But he tested positive, didn't he? Yeah.
They get to you when you get to that level, and he would have got a tap on the shoulder, and they said, mate, you pull your head in. But, someone like that speaks out has, could have such a great reach. Pete Evans is probably the only real so-called celebrity in Australia that's spoken out. Like, what about Chris Hemsworth? What's he got?
Exactly.
He's just supported BLM. They've all supported BLM.
Yeah. Pete Evans. I mean, I saw him. He was lined up against, in an article, I think it was Chris Hemsworth, Hugh Jackman, and there was some other guy. Oh, Carl. As people that haven't said anything, and then there was Pete sort of next to them as the only person, I guess, to that level of fame, maybe that's actually spoken out and said things. And hasn't he been so ridiculed? And I mean, the amount of abuse he's really copped, with all of this is pretty shocking.
Yeah.
But they did mention those other three next to him. So.
But how do they live with themselves, those other people? Like, either they completely have no idea, or they don't, or they sell out for money. That's it. They don't have enough courage. So.
Well, I don't think anyone here, we don't really know the answer, but they must be aware of things. You would have to be. I mean, going through Hollywood, you would have heard
and getting to
something.
The top of the game in Hollywood as well. They've all been at, well, except Carl, but I mean, they've all been, at the top of their game.
So who's Carl? Stefanovic?
Yeah.
Right, sorry.
Just first name.
Thinking like Dr. Carl, no?
I did see, though, that I think it was late last year that Elle Macpherson, her boyfriend, who's a big time in the medical field, he's anti-jab and anti.
Yes, Andrew Wakefield, yeah.
Sorry? Andrew
Wakefield.
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, couldn't remember it. So she was in support of that, but that hasn't been, there's no big wide coverage of that or anything like that. So not that I've seen anyway. It was really hard to find. I tried to search it on one of the search engines and really found it quite difficult. It was on page 3 or 4, I think, of what I was looking at, and found her name linked up to that, and that she was supporting him, and as you would, it's her partner. So so I guess that might indicate where she sort of is at, but again, we haven't seen it actively coming out and saying it. So but more people like that, I mean, she's obviously the epitome of health and beauty and whatnot. More people like that would help surely get this message across the line. So
some famous doctors would be good.
Sorry?
Any really big famous doctors would be good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of doctors that are trying to say things, but
but they're not, it's not really getting out there.
Yeah, it's a difficult space. So I don't know. Dale, I'll ask you this question. Last week when we spoke to David, we were talking about the travel bubble that's come up for Australia and New Zealand. What's your thoughts on that? We all said our thoughts, but what do you think about that? That's quarantine free.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's hard to say what they're trying to do at the moment. So this is like where you can travel to New Zealand and back, right? Quarantine free. You have to get a test, no?
Well, I think that it's very shady.
Lines.
Yeah, it's very shady, with the actual.
I don't like. To me, it's like I don't want to flirt. I don't want to flirt with any of it. It's like give us freedom or piss off, because it's going. They keep back. Like I'm thinking about traveling up Gold Coast tomorrow, actually, and I'm sort of thinking, I'm going to get stuck back up there again. I'm like, it's got to go with your intuition, don't you? But like if we went to the pub the other night and they tried a QR code us, I said, mate, I'm not doing it. He goes, you're not coming in. We couldn't go in.
Right.
We just need enough people to do that. We can do with the travel industry. No, we're not flying. It depends. Like,
you're
so
right,
I've been tempted to travel. Like, I'm obviously not going to wear a mask, but like, I know some people have got away with it. But how much? I don't want to be in that sort of airport environment. I don't want to be there at the moment.
No, we don't either. And you're right. Like you just, it's sort of like all or nothing. You don't want to be doing this sort of half sort of version of like, oh, we'll let you out of the cage, but then you get straight back in.
And what are you going to do if you go over to New Zealand and then they announce some new bloody outbreak or whatever, and you're stuck over there? I'm like, I'm not getting a test. So what am I going to do? Am I going to get a boat back to Australia? Like, what am I going to do?
Well, that's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they did do that, because it's the bubble's happening, I think, in April.
For sure. That is on the cards to happen.
That they would make that happen, just like they've done with, other places. So
they've done the new outbreak in Queensland, just that they're going to end the state of emergency there too, which means can't roll the jab out. So I mean, it's so obvious. It's just so blatant, isn't it?
I know that they cancelled the Byron Bay Blues Fest over the Easter weekend. So they always have that every year, and that's the second year they've done that. Obviously, last year it had to happen, but they apparently did it with I think it was about 24 hours notice. And so there's apart from all of the artists and all the people that are going there, there's organisation, all of the vendors that had their stocked full of food and drink and whatnot.
But the guy, was it the organizer? He said that they're treating music events very differently to the way they treat sporting events. So I don't know. Why did he say that?
He just thought it was unfair, the fact that they cancelled that within 24 hours. And they've had some large sporting events go ahead in the midst of all of this, with the Aussie Open tennis being one of them. I know that they had lockdowns and whatnot in and out of that.
But also we
had like footy and that sort of thing.
And we had the Fringe Festival that went ahead here in Adelaide. And there was, I think we had a couple of cases or whatever it was, but how did those people all get let in? And that's just,
you mean the performers and all the people
and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's just so many blurred lines everywhere. There's rules that, common sense would say none of this makes sense, because you can't have these rules here and these rules here, and then you cross a line and then you've got a new rule there. None of it makes sense at all. So it's that basic and that simple.
The Premier up in Queensland, she said, look, the reason for the different treatment is because the music would encourage people to sing and dance.
Oh my God.
That's
what she said.
That's what she said.
You're not allowed to sing and dance, and you're not allowed to, especially happy birthday, because of the sound.
They're psychopaths. The actual psychopaths say but like where I'm in Bendigo, our biggest weekend of the year is Easter week, and they have Bendigo Easter Festival. It's huge.
Okay, right.
And it got cancelled for that reason. And like you go through, there is people, it is packed. There's all the people that still came here for the festival. It's just there's no festival on, but it's packed everywhere.
So it's like it's ridiculous.
But David, do you think they're baiting us with these stories, aren't they? They're trying to make it so freaking ridiculous. To me, it's just like they're baiting you.
I really do hope that that's the reason for it, because because everything's so weird. Like I have a friend in the UK, and Boris Johnson said that they're not going to have passports for the pubs anymore, but then they are for other events like sporting events and for music events. So it makes no sense that why could somebody catch a train? Because the trains in London are packed, just like most trains are in the morning.
Yeah.
But you can go to a concert or something, and you need a passport for that. Like it makes zero sense. So I think it's so stupid. I really just hope it's a wake up call for people to kind of look at it and go, what's the difference? Like, why do I have to leave the pub at 10? Because is that when it gets really bad? I have to go home at 10.
Out.
Who knows?
That tells you where the agenda's being driven from, though, too, because the pub's not owned by the corporation, whereas like Ticketmaster and all these other big institutions, it's so easy.
Exactly.
Like Qantas, whatever, we're going to roll it through because they're connected, the corporations through the web, where the local pub isn't.
That's right.
Through that, yeah.
Well, David, you said what the UK, they came out of their lockdown.
Maybe not yet, but apparently I read an article about it, about how they're going to just treat the whole thing as just like a normal flu.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's some of the last that we'll see of these lockdowns? Do you think we've actually made like a shift, like we've passed a point? I feel like maybe we have.
What do you think?
In terms of humanity waking up, or
maybe, but also just that things are just, I think, coming out more and more. I just don't think they're actually going to even make sense in the world of weirdness that we all live in.
I think you're right, Julia. They need something. They need something big to lock us down again.
Yeah.
Although they tend to keep doing it, but like every time they do, they wake a few more up, and every time they've done it, there's less sort of following it. I don't reckon they're going to. They would need some massive sort of natural disaster. I don't know if that's on the cards. They need something big.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah.
I was sure, like I said, I was sure they were going to do it this Easter. I still hope they do. It's probably not a nice thing to say. But like, do you think
yeah. But yeah,
it's only going to be for like 3 days. You look at all the snap lockdowns we've had, 3 days, 5 days.
That's enough to ruin everyone's travel plans.
Exactly. But what if this thing was real and it was a threat? Like, what are you going to achieve in 3 days? What are you going to achieve in 5 days? So to me, I'm just hoping it's the white hats just telling them to wake more people up, because for one case, we had our one case, and that was a 5-day thing. And to do that to a whole region for one dude who quite possibly would have been a false positive, considering all the stuff that happened after that. And I'm sure it's similar in the other states too. It's just stupid madness.
I honestly hope that we have made this shift. I feel like we have intuitively, I suppose. I do feel that. And I just feel like, as I said at the beginning, astrology wise and the sort of dissatisfaction that people should be feeling at this point in time, I think it has to push us in a different direction, just naturally speaking. It can't just keep going on like this. But I do feel like we've hit that point. And this is psychological warfare, and a lot of people are still buying into it, obviously. Like, if you don't do it, then you're crazy. It's just putting it back onto the person, like there's something wrong with you because we're protecting you. Yeah, they're my thoughts.
Yeah. We actually spoke to our cousin yesterday who's in Italy. So he's just outside of Milan. And obviously we know that Italy's, been treated one of the worst, I probably think, in the whole world. So
whether that was
again,
like, I'm sure those numbers are completely fabricated, a lot of them. But they've really attacked the elderly over there. Especially psychologically.
That's right. And I think also, one of the things about Italians is sometimes they they worry a bit. You know, there's that sort of whole stigma
Yeah.
around the way that Italians kind of think, and that that's their psychology. They worry and they, you know, that sort of thing, especially with the older folk. And I can't speak for everybody, so don't anyone say anything. I'm just saying in general. Anyway, so we spoke to him yesterday, and we found out that his father, who is, how old is he? About
80.
Is 80, is he? Okay. He has just taken the Moderna
Jab.
jab.
How bad is it that we have to think all of this and then watch what we're saying all the time? I mean, we get ripped off.
We've got
just as a side note here, we get ripped off thousands of subscribers daily.
Just overnight this morning, we just looked at it and we're like, this is.
Is it really?
Sorry.
Yeah.
And views all the time, like and thumbs ups. We have like a certain amount. This is so silly.
Don't even get us started.
And then like they just rip 50 off. Like the next second you look at it, like
you can really track the algorithm, can't you? After a bit, like I remember watching my subs were going nuts on my old account, and then it just went boom, just full plateaued.
Right.
And like
yeah.
They like wipe just stuff off now. So interesting.
Don't get me thinking about that again. It's just going to irritate me. Anyway, so I was saying, so our cousin's father, he had the Moderna jab. Oh my God, I nearly said it again. It's so hard to do. Yeah, so we're a bit concerned about that because he's had the first one. He's had the first shot, and then he's meant to go back, I think, in 2 weeks' time for a second one. He's okay. But
we were talking about this today. We were sort of thinking, yeah, of course, maybe the first shot isn't going to be necessarily, it could be a placebo, whatever.
Yeah.
But the second one might have something that mixes in with the first one and then creates a reaction. So I guess they're trying to get everyone to get the first
back
one
for the second one to get a bit more of it. Yeah.
And people are just going by, oh, the first one, it was fine.
Yeah.
So that's another layer to all of this.
Yeah,
so
and people base fine on like how you are after a couple of weeks, where if it's like, it's not even, you know, they want to kill off normally, but the gene therapy it's really about stopping reproduction in the future. That's what I think the key is. It's not about, not everyone's going to take the jab and all, you know, half the population dies. It's not how it works.
No.
It's the Brave New World, Aldous Huxley of like stopping human reproduction. That's what it's about, really. But there's an Aboriginal co-op in my town. I spoke to someone that knows someone there. And so obviously they give it to the Indigenous people first because they're so loving, you know. And like if you're a native to any country and you've seen what they've done in the past to you, why would you trust your government with a jab and for them to give it to you first? You have to be insane. And it shows you a lot of the actual elders in these native communities are actually pretty far withdrawn from what's going on. Not all elders are like actual elders know what's going on. But anyway, they got given all theirs, and half the staff had the next week off.
Right.
There's only my town, and that's like,
that's shocking.
Yeah. So anyway, we were just shocked to hear that his father had taken it. We were just like, oh no. And we've had a lot of discussions with our cousin over the past 6 months, telling him our thoughts on this. But what can you do? And that's all you can do. You can just put your opinion across. You can't force everyone to think the way that you think. We're certainly not doing that. But that was a bit sort of.
Well, they're getting persuaded by their, doctors or whoever they're seeing. They're just getting told certain things and they just go with it. And, you know, they're older. So, you know, they just, I guess they are trusting in it. But yeah, it's sad and it's difficult sometimes because then you feel like this is such an important time in history, and if you can't connect with somebody on that kind of level, it's maybe going to be hard going forward having certain relationships with people based on that. I feel. Do either of you two know anyone that's actually had it?
I got a friend whose girlfriend got it. He was going to get it, but then he actually ended up getting the flu, the disease. Well, he tested positive anyway. Who knows what really happened? He just said that he lost his sense of smell or something. Dick wasn't really that sick. But there's a doctor down the road who I heard is going to get it. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens. He's like all on board, of course. Like he's retired, but I have to see what happens to him. Hopefully he just gets a placebo, but if he doesn't, that'll be very interesting.
Yeah. You know someone too, Dale?
Yeah, I've had a friend that's already had 2 of them.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
In America. Yeah, they hang shit on me. They think I'm a freaking lunatic, and I said, mate, I don't bother with them anymore. So I just sort of, like you were saying, just let them be. But yeah, like I've had friends in Europe and stuff. I had it, and actually my mum works for a health provider, and they're rolling out next week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting here too, because she said they'll bring in all these incubators and that. And she said, what's going on? Like, I don't think everyone's going to be taking these. And they were like assuring her, oh no, like these things are going to be going. And that she was also told that they were going to be, this rollout was going to be 2 years. 2 years.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
ScoMo keeps saying they're going to have everyone done by October this year.
Yeah.
In the whole country.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so like 25 million or something.
Well, like the agenda was that you just get these things, they just keep rolling them out forever and ever, you know.
It's an ongoing thing. It's like 20 shots a year for adults and 40 for kids or something.
Right. Yeah. So that's obviously like what my mum's getting fed is. She's getting fed down from Department of Human Services in Australia, in Victoria. And they're sort of giving her like a glimpse of the agenda too, that, oh no, like these things aren't going away. These are going to be around.
Yeah.
There's this whole room for it.
What are her thoughts on it? What does she think about all of this and what you think about it?
Well, I think I told you off camera that she stopped giving us jabs. As when we were kids, because like I almost died as a kid from it, and I got chronic asthma as a baby from that as well. So we used to go to this guy Isaac Golden. He's in the Australian Health Party. He's a world famous homeopath, and he actually does a lot of getting rid of heavy metals out of the brain and stuff too. And they said you can reverse a lot of things with certain jabs.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to talk too much about this if you want to go on YouTube. Yeah, so yeah, she's been clued onto that side of things for decades. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, on a positive note, I just want to say it is really important that we are tuning in so much to ourselves, because I mean, like I said at the beginning of the video, the energy is so thick right now. It's just coming at us, and it does feel like it dictates your moods if you're just kind of being really open to that. So I think it's really important, anyone watching, that you have to really tune out of the 3D so much more than you've ever done before, and really start using visualizing in the now and just staying in the now as much as possible, because that is where that's where you create, that's where we start to create the future, or what we want to be seeing. So I think that's just such an important point that I practice so much more than I ever have before. So hopefully that helps people if they're freaking out. And we really need to be utilizing that skill that we have that's innate to us, but letting go of the distractions and just visualizing a lot more and just creating in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. And it's a difficult time at the moment, because we are faced with all this information, disinformation, or whatnot, and then us obviously doing this, creating content, is another whole kettle of fish as well. And then we have to deal with that.
The disinformation within the truther community, like patriots being brought down, and good patriots being really attacked. So there's all that as well.
Yeah, there is. But I actually think, I know it doesn't seem like it, but I actually think that people are actually slowly getting up. There's more and more things. Just every day you might just notice one more thing. You might see one thing in the media, or you might just notice one thing when you have a discussion with someone. Just we saw our Nana yesterday for Easter, and she was an avid news watcher.
And she's 98. Okay?
She's 98. And she would watch, she's very switched on for 98, I have to say.
She's more switched on than us.
Sometimes. So she would watch every single news bulletin. For people that aren't in Australia, we have 4 or 5 main bulletins that we would have every night around 6 p.m, maybe 5. She would watch every single one of them. She'd try and catch bits on every single one of them. She actually said yesterday, I know, how funny. It's as a lot of elderly people do. They like their patterns. They like that sort of thing. They look to that every day. That's how they run their day. And she actually said to us yesterday, she goes, "Oh, I don't have time for the news anymore." That's what? You don't have time for the news anymore?
At 98.
Yeah, exactly. And she goes, "Oh, I've got 2 birds I have to look after and all this business." And which is a really strange thing because she doesn't have great knees. She can't move very fast or go very far. She loves sitting on her recliner. And
she thinks, sorry.
So I was just going to say, to me, to us, we actually took that as she's disinterested in what she's actually seeing now. She's losing connection with it. She's going, this is all BS now.
But she's also never had a flu shot.
Yeah.
She doesn't buy into any of that. And that was her decision. But she also did a prediction on Mr. T. She thinks that, and she doesn't know any of this.
What is she, like a psychic or something?
Well, she doesn't know that she is, but we know that she is. Like, she's got a sixth sense.
Oh,
like.
she does. She's so switched on. What was I saying? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I said, "Oh, what do you?"
Mr. T. That's right.
Yeah. Well, we just said to her, "Oh, Nana, what are your thoughts on how Mr. B's going?"
Oh, she doesn't have any internet. Sorry, no internet. Yeah. No iPhone or anything. She barely answers the phone. Like, she's nothing. Nobody tells her anything. I don't think she reads the newspaper either. So
no, that's right. Yeah. Oh, she does listen to the wireless. The older wireless.
Yeah.
Anyway, quick, get to the point.
We'll get to the point.
David
has to go. So what do you think? What do you think of how Mr. B is going? She goes, "Oh, he's an idiot. He's going to be dead soon." So that's an interesting.
And
take.
Mr. T is going to be back in before the end of the year. So
yeah, she said they're going to have another vote or something like that. She didn't
before the end of the year.
She couldn't verbalize it well, but that's what she sort of meant. So we're thinking she's probably not that far off with that prediction. We'll see, Nana.
Your grandma.
I think Nana needs her own.
Yeah. Get her on YouTube. Get her start her own channel.
Oh, she'd probably freeze off if she came on. I don't think she even knows what it is, but so that was an interesting conversation.
But when she said that though, I was like fully tapped into what she was saying. Yeah. I was like, I think this is better than once.
Don't anyone say anything about that. We don't have any comments about that, but there are other people out there with other thoughts, and I think just we need to reiterate, we need to stop focusing on the dates. Obviously, more dates have come and gone, but we all know we've all had discussions. David, we spoke about it the other day, Dale as well. We all know instinctively that things are happening below the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe even coming to the surface. It's just a matter of keeping in that space and just keeping on reminding yourself that things are happening and just really tapping into your true self as much as possible and not getting taken over by those negative entities that you get from, seeing all these things and hearing all these things. So
because
I got something to share with you.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right back.
Okay. They want to attack. They want to just keep attacking. So if you really have to focus on healing the heart, and I think energetically we should be getting help with that somewhat. So that's
and
really
astrologically as well.
That's really important.
Yeah. Go ahead, David.
So I got this book. It's called Handbook for a New Paradigm.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of George Green? Dale, you might have. No. Apparently Illuminati insider. Apparently he wrote this book with the Palladians, and I got this book when I was in London 6-7 years ago or something.
Okay.
But anyway, I thought I'd read it again because somebody sent me an ebook version. But I just opened it up a couple of days ago on the weekend, just to this page, and I want to read you this part, which is quite interesting. It's only a couple of lines.
Okay.
You randomly just open up to this page, is that what you said?
Yeah, I just opened the book and there's this page, and I can find it. Continue talking amongst yourself while I find it.
How's the weather?
Daylight savings, kill me.
Yeah.
Oh, and now Perth doesn't have daylight saving, we realised.
Yes. Sorry about that, David.
No, we had a trial back when I was in primary school, and everybody was really worried. Everyone's really worried about what time they were going to feed the cows and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. It's
the cows get confused. But this is I don't know where to read from, but I'll just read a little bit here. It says, "Always remember, things work together to bring forth that which was planned long ago. For God's plan cannot be thwarted. The duration and complexity of events can be altered if there is a faltering of faith and an action on the part of those that have been placed in stations of service. None are placed who do not have the ability to accomplish their missions. Some will falter and perhaps even fail. That, of course, is a possibility, but backups are in place and things will move forward in divine order. And then it goes on to say, trust the plan and pay no attention to the day-to-day details. This knowingness will be your rock on which to lean, your touchstone of faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's pretty interesting.
Right.
And it's all about like the opening paragraph or the opening couple of paragraphs. And obviously it's about what's happening now. And basically saying that there is a small group of people that have taken it upon themselves to create a vision and a future for what they want to see, but it's not the creator's plan. And the creator has a plan.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
Thank you for sharing.
That was beautiful.
I think it just reiterates why we are all doing this.
And
why we're
not getting caught up in those details and tuning into your heart and your soul, your essence as much as possible. So
if you turn the media off, I mean, that's it's difficult to avoid. I never watch it, but I still see a lot of it, you know?
Yeah.
So even like just social media, I haven't had like my phone on for like 3 days. It's been great. But like missing it's like an addiction. Missing 3 days is like, you could do that years ago, whereas now it's like missing 3 months of information. Do you know what I mean? If you take, but you're right, David.
Yeah. But you
absolutely.
you feel so refreshed after you stay away from your phone, even if it's for a day. I actually think the phone gave me my sore eye. It attacked me.
She's always saying that her phone's going to attack her one day. She's been saying this for years, but you know what? She's probably not far off.
Not far off at all.
It's attacking you in many ways, I think.
Yeah.
It's attacking all of us.
No, well, David, I know you have to run.
Should we just leave with some parting words? David, did you want to say anything to the viewers? I mean, you already did, actually. You read a lovely little passage there. So.
I did, but I mean, basically, I'll just reiterate what I said. Turn the media off and just kind of be present, practice gratitude, raise your vibration. And because when we're all in that fear vibration, that's where they want to keep us, you know. The more we can get out of that and the more we can move into the love vibration or higher, that's where the magic happens. And it's not easy, but if you do practice daily gratitude, like that changed my life immensely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an amazing way to raise your vibration. So I'll just leave it with that.
Yeah,
it all comes down to the practice. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Every little bit counts every day. Dale, any words?
No, I've just been listening to it, especially what you said before, Joya, about, because you do get you can get very caught in things. I know I do, but I've got there's a practice I used to do years ago, and like, especially when things like aren't so good in your life or you're caught in drama and that, and I just say to myself that I'm infinite, and like and not just to say, but to really know what that means, like to feel that, and you're like, and what am I doing here, you know?
Yeah.
And that everything that happens, I chose to happen.
Yeah.
So you're not having this. Why me? Why is this happening? Why is this going slow? Why can't, like, it's just like, it's meant to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're infinite. So enjoy every moment's important.
Yeah, that's great, Dale. And I think everyone can have that, like their little sort of signal as to how they can tap into that. Yours is saying you're infinite. David, you've got a different way, practicing gratitude, and we have different versions as well. Today I even thought to myself, I'm definitely, you got to separate yourself from the outer. Like I just felt like I was being so attacked by energies. I'm like, this isn't me. And just actually creating a separation. So it wasn't feeling as though it was who I was and that I am who I am in here. So that helped me realign just by saying that to myself. But I think also remember, guys, that this is the time to speak out with integrity, with love, and speak your truth. So if anyone out there is still, stuck and feeling held back, this is the time. So be brave.
Well said, Julia. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys. I know we'll probably chat again. I think it's been a really, really good chat.
Yeah.
Hopefully the audience has learned something as well. So thanks so much for joining us, and have
Thanks,
a
guys.
lovely evening, both of you.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome,
And
you too.
Thanks,
guys.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.